Good morning, everyone. Greetings to all the speakers, all the panelists. Greetings to all the attendees. Let me begin by congratulating the Economic Times and all the sponsors for putting, pardon me, for putting together this very important seminar on data centers. This is also a very topical seminar, given the fact that India is becoming a very, very attractive destination for some of the marquee data center players. We are also on the cusp of getting the personal data protection bill getting approved by the parliament. Most importantly, there is an increasing push towards digitalization, particularly in the last 18 months. We have seen what kinds of digital requirements are there, not just for enterprises or governments, but even for a common citizen, whether he's in the urban area, rural area, from a working class or from the better off classes. Everyone's lives are getting touched through this enormous push towards digitalization. So the roles of data center becomes very important, but it is also very important at this point in time to consider looking at data centers as an opportunity to get the sustainability agenda also on the forefront. See, when we talk about data centers, the typical images that come in our mind are where again they are where there is a huge amount of power requirement. So they're power guzzlers. They don't really create too many jobs, etc. So from an employment point of view, they are not very attractive. But we all know that the kind of multiplier effect data centers have, and for any kind of digital economy, it is very important that we have a robust network of data centers. So I would, in the next few minutes, like to share the perspective of Telangana government. I work for the state of Telangana, as I've been introduced, and what has been our stand and understanding and approach towards data centers. So, as I said, while it is becoming very important now to kind of encourage and look at data centers, even the national government is in the process of creating a data center policy. But in Telangana, much before all this, much before the pandemic, much before the digitalization push, to be frank, in 2017, we created a dedicated policy for data centers. So at that time itself, we recognize that this is one area where there is going to be enormous amount of traction. And at that point in time, our thinking was prompted by the huge push to e-commerce. As all of us recognize today, e-commerce has become a very vital part of our digital economy. And in 2017, etc., the space in the e-commerce world was really expanding, enlarging, both domestic players, multinationals. And at that point in time, we had recognized that data center can be a very big thing. And obviously, in those days, in 2015, 2016, etc., the belief was that data centers are better located, or those locations are better suited where the trans-sea cables land. So typically, Chennai, Mumbai would be considered as ideal locations because the cables land actually at those points. But then we realized when we studied the global experiences, particularly in the United States, some of you may know that there is a location called the Loudoun County, which is considered to be the hub for data center activities there. And obviously, it is not a coastal place. It is far away from the coast. So by looking at these kind of experiences, we recognize that Hyderabad itself can become a very attractive data center option if we are able to come up with a very progressive policy. And we were also buoyed by the fact that there is a homegrown player. Many of you would know them. It's a company called Control S, a Hyderabad-based, Hyderabad-headquartered company, which already, much before global players started looking at India, was already doing wonderfully well in the data center space to cater to domestic requirements. And incidentally, they had created the first level 4 or tier 4 data center in Hyderabad, which was really making news and attracting some marquee clients also. So looking at the success of Control S and looking at the opportunity which appeared to be on the horizon, largely driven by e-commerce players, we developed this policy on data centers. And today also, though the policy has gone through almost 5 years of its existence, it is considered to be a very progressive policy, a very user-friendly policy. And the results of this policy have been extremely rich. We have been able to bring some of the biggest data center investments the country has ever seen to Hyderabad. And one example is that of AWS. AWS is spending close to $3 billion in setting up 3 data centers in Hyderabad. Their works are going on in full swing. We also have other global marquee names. In fact, very shortly, maybe within a matter of a month or so, we will be making those announcements of which are those marquee players and how they have chosen to set up their data center facilities in Hyderabad. So the policy that we have rolled out essentially speaks about high quality infrastructure, because data centers are infrastructure driven. You require suitable location, which is having good connectivity. Most importantly, reliable power and multiple sources of power is very important. And Telangana, as many of you would know, is also a state that enjoys a very high reputation on ease of doing business. So no time should be wasted or lost in giving approvals, giving permissions, and so on and so forth. So again, the policy guarantees all those things. But there is also a complementary part of the policy which talks about usage, how the state government itself will start using the data centers of the homegrown players. So for instance, if AWS is setting up its facility here, Control S, which has its facility here, some other players whose names will become known as kind of weeks go by, how they will be benefited by lots of government business, lots of government storage activities coming their way. We have, along with the data center policy, we have also created a cloud adoption framework. Most of us know now that storage on cloud looks to be a better value proposition for lots and lots of databases and applications that are used by the government. So how do you encourage government agencies and government departments to look at cloud? And of course, most of the government departments have this challenge of legacy. That is, they have huge in-premise storage infrastructure. So how do you kind of move away from that and in a cost-effective, optimum way, shift to cloud storage? And when you do that, what kind of opportunities do you provide to homegrown players? I mean, people who have set up their data centers in the state, who have created the infrastructure in the state. So the policy is that way much more attractive. I mean, if many other states can also say that I can give you good pieces of land, I can give you power, but it is more than land and power. It is about, of course, and the ease of doing business. It is also about how much of encouragement and support do you give to them in terms of making your local business available to them. So we have done all that. We have a good policy. The results are extremely promising. As I mentioned, some of the most marquee players have chosen to come to Hyderabad and Telangana. But as I mentioned in the beginning, the importance of encouraging data centers and getting those billions of investments that I spoke about should not push the sustainability agenda below the radar. I mean, sustainability should also be an equally important component when we are encouraging data centers. So I'm happy to share with you, many of you would know that in Hyderabad, we have the CII's Green Business Council's headquarters. And because they are available here, they recognize that state was making rapid strides in attracting data center players. They have also come up with important norms of green data centers. So energy efficiency is obviously a very important component. Similarly, how the buildings that you will be constructing. So I gave the example of Control S, a homegrown player, which was the pioneer in getting data centers. So we have ensured that all the data center facilities that they construct in the state of Telangana, in the city of Hyderabad, they all must be either platinum rated or even higher. So every component of their building is sustainable, is energy efficient. We have also, for example, AWS, when AWS is setting up their data center, we are also encouraging them to utilize renewable energy as much as possible to fuel the data center, because as I mentioned, these could be enormous power guzzlers. And when I spoke about the kind of construction activities that you do, in that as well, there are lots of elements of sustainability. So from end to end, from the day you dig your earth to construct your building till the time the data center is up and running, there are multiple elements which can be designed and developed using sustainability principles. And as I mentioned, because we have the advantage of having the Green Business Council located here in Hyderabad. They guide us, they create these norms, etc. And right now, of course, we only motivate and encourage companies to look at green features. And I'm happy to share that all the ones who have chosen to come to Telangana comply with that as much as they can. I mean, they are by themselves also quite enthusiastic to follow sustainability principles. And when the state government also nudges, and then there is a inner motivation from within, it kind of blends well, and the outcomes are also very positive. So on the whole, I see tremendous opportunity in data center business for our country. As I mentioned, there are very important features of edge computing that is also becoming prominent now. In fact, the other day I was interacting with some data center players, and I was very pleasantly surprised to learn that while big cities like Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chennai, etc. are important, they're also perceiving a big opportunity for smaller data centers in kind of smaller state capitals and other tier 2 kind of locations. Particularly, they see lots of business opportunities coming through, let us say, OTT, and the opportunities that edge computing provides. So the data center business is going to multiply enormously in our country. The personal data protection bill, as I said, which very shortly will be made into an act, that also will have requirements of storage of data locally. Localization will be a very important component of that bill. Already we know that all the financial transactions are localized, even though this bill is not yet an act, but through a RBI guideline, the financial data, the financial transactions data, that is, have to be compulsorily stored within India. So data center businesses that way will get a bigger push once, for instance, we also have this national digital health mission rolling out. So huge amounts of data stacks that are getting created will require localized storage. So that way, the business opportunity is enormous. But as all of us understand, ensuring that everything is smart, secure, sustainable is also a very important responsibility on all the stakeholders. And as I said, I'm very proud to share that in Telangana, our thinking is precisely on these lines. And whatever results we have achieved is extremely well aligned with this concept of sustainability, security, and smart features. So I look forward to listening to other speakers also to understand their perspectives, and hope that this will not just be a one-off kind of a conversation. We will remain focused on this particular important aspect in times to come, so that India can become a global role model in how do you encourage the data center industry without compromising on sustainability at all. So glad that you gave me a chance to interact with all of you. Thank you very much.